Hey guys, Sugar, New Leaf, hi guys. Clover's outside for some reason. I don't know what Clover's doing. You're first? I don't know. New Leaf was just a second first maybe. Hi D, Sugar Coma, New Leaf, D. I hope you guys are doing good. If you guys are new here, this is our book club. I just kind of do this every it's not every night, but you know, just as I can, I read this book. So my channel is I'm traveling the country in my Jeep with my dog. We're camping right now tonight. And this is my dog Clover. Clover says hi. She just came out from the tent. And we had a really big day today. We went kayaking. We did a campfire. We just got done with the campfire. And now I'm gonna like unwind and read this book. So the reason that I started this is because I hadn't read a book in a long time, like over a year. Since I started live streaming, I couldn't have the focus or the attention span to read a book. And I told you guys about this book and you were like, oh, you should read it live. So I thought that was a good idea. It would hold me accountable to actually finishing the book maybe, or at least reading it maybe more than I would have otherwise. So that's what we're doing. So we have actually already had 11 live streams of this. This is our 12th live stream for this book. We're on chapter 24. We usually do 1 or 2 chapters at a time. Hi MC, Ramona, April in the Keys, Ernie, Carolina, Sugar Boston, Marcia, City Boy Dan, Vicky, Fanny, Rhonda, Carolina, Southern Jeep Girl, Glenda, Carol, Jackie. I hope I got most of you guys. Nick, Judy, Vicky, Hannah, Carolina. Oh my gosh, we got 56 people in here. Thanks for hanging out in here, you guys. Thanks for coming in and saying hi and keeping me company. It's very encouraging. Hi Arlita. Hi Mary. I always used to be reading. Yeah, it's, you know, yeah, we lose our attention span. Life gets in the way. This is a good way to, you know, just get back into it maybe for a little while. Hi, Stephanie, Fanny, Vicky, Michael. Anyways, I'm just going to jump into it. So this book, if this is your first time watching this, I've got lots of different live streams we've done. They've been recorded. New Leaf gifted a subscription over to Claudine. Ah, thanks, New Leaf. Heck yeah, thanks for gifting that membership over. Denise, Trista, you love book club? Oh, that's good. Once we finish this book, I will do like a little book review, I don't know, live stream meeting or whatever to talk about the book and maybe pick out a next book. I don't want to commit to a next book yet. I just, you know, we're only like halfway through. So I want to make sure, you know, that I want to do it. This is actually a good book. Yeah. So this is a book. If you have missed the other ones, you can go back and watch the live streams that we already did from the beginning. I created a playlist about this book. But basically it's a book about a girl who gets whisked away into a fairy kingdom. And she's developing feelings for the guy that took her. So it's interesting. Always supporting. Heck yeah, Loretta. Jackie. I can see your comments, Pink. Valerie, Ramona. Yeah, we can see you, Pink. Yeah. Oh, you guys are the best. Okay, so we're going to jump right into this. It is kind of weird. I do just read it. I tend to offer feedback as I'm going. So, all right. And it's weird to read out loud. I'm a little rusty at first, and then as I get going, I get a little better. You thought fairies were good? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the 2 guys that she's hanging out with are pretty good. The 2 fairies that she's hanging out with are good. They're high court fairies, and she's like in their palace or whatever. And then she's had all different kinds of fairies that are bad, that have tried to get her. They'll get you. Let's go. Hi, kid. Hi, Ken. Ready to listen. Yeah, so we'll probably do this for about an hour or so, and then I'll go to bed. All right, so this is page 213 if you are following along, chapter 24. It wasn't the dawn that awoke me, but rather a buzzing noise. Oh, Clover. As soon as I get started. What? Why are you whining at me? She says I don't have a bone. She says you forgot to give me a bone of some sort to keep my... She goes, you might have the attention span for this, but I don't got the attention span, she says. I wonder if she would like me to turn off this light. I don't think we need it. That's probably better, because then this side of the tent is lit up and her side of the tent is dark. Maybe she'll go back to bed. She had a really long day and she was really out of it, so now she's awake. Ma, bone time. Where's the bones? They're outside of the tent. They're in the Jeep. Hi, you guys. This is a funny every book club. Hi, guys. It's like I get started and she's like, no. I would prefer the light bulb on, but what are you gonna do? Maybe she'll just kind of chill out. She's still sitting there all weird though. Like, okay, it is a weird way to sit, Clover. It is a weird way to be sitting. Why are you sitting like that? Like, that doesn't, I don't know. That kind of does look comfortable, but also not. Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable, Clover? I don't got nothing for you. Oh, Arletta, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Let's go. Thank you for the super chat. Why are you sitting like that, Clover? She's like, why am I in the dark? I think she prefers the dark. She's ready to listen to, maybe. Clover says, I want my bone now. She does want a bone. I don't know. I don't want to go out into the Jeep to get him. I think she'll be all right. She had a really long day. We went for lots of walks. We went kayaking. She got a lot of exercise today. She was sleeping pretty hard. She's a Boston Terrier. She was sleeping pretty hard earlier. We were doing campfire. And yeah, she's a Boston Terrier. Clover, what are you doing? You just relax, lady. Clover says hi. Clover's so sweet. She's like, what happened to our midnight snacks? We're not midnight snacking anymore. It wasn't the dawn that awoke me, but rather a buzzing noise. I groaned as I sat up in bed and squinted at this squat woman with skin made from tree bark who fussed with my breakfast dishes. Where's Alice? I asked, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. Tamlin must have carried me up here, must have carried me the whole way home. What? She turned toward me. Her bird mask was familiar, but I would have remembered the fairy with a skin like that. Would have painted it already. Is Alice unwell? I said, sliding from the bed. This was my room, wasn't it? A quick glance told me yes. Are you out of your right mind? The fairy said. I bit my lip. I am Alice, she clucked. Heather with the $2.99 super chat. Let's go. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Heather. Heather Random, thank you so much. Everybody who sent super chats and subscribed and stuff, thank you. I am Alice, she said. With a shake of her head, she strode into the bathing room to start my bath. It was impossible. The Alice I knew was fair and plump and looked like high fae. I bet you she was glamored before. Do you think she was glamored and saw Alice how she wanted to see her? Maybe. I rubbed my eyes with my thumb and forefinger. A glamour. Ah, okay. That's what Tamlin said he wore. His fairy sight had stripped away the glamours I was seeing. But why bother to glamour everything at all? Because I'd been a cowering human, that's why. Because Tamlin knew that I would have locked myself in this room and never come out if I'd seen them all for their true selves. Things only got worse when I made my way downstairs to find the High Lord. The hallways were bustling with fairy masks I'd never seen before. Some were tall and human, high fae like Tamlin, and others were not. They were fairies. I tried to avoid looking at those ones as they seemed the most upset or the most surprised to notice my attention. I was almost shaking by the time I reached the dining room. Lucian mercifully looked like Lucian. I didn't ask whether that was because Tamlin had informed him to put up a better glamour or because he didn't bother trying to be something he wasn't. Tamlin lounged in his usual chair but straightened as I lingered in the doorway. What's wrong? He asked. There are a lot of people, fairies around. When did they arrive? I'd almost yelped when I looked out my bedroom window and spotted all the fairies in the garden, most of them all with insect masks. They all had the same, like, bird masks before. Pruned the hedges and tended the flowers. Those fairies had been the strangest of all, with their buzzing wings sprouting from their backs. And of course, then there was the green and brown skin and their unnaturally long limbs. Clover, you are being a dog. You are being a dog with feelings and wants and needs. are being a dog with feelings and wants and needs. She needs bones. What's the deal? She already went outside and drank water. She doesn't want that. She wants bones. You're just gonna have to relax. Hello, hello. Hello, you guys. I hope you're having a good Saturday. It's Saturday night. Are you guys ready to party? We're gonna party and read this book. I wonder if she does want some more water. Do you want some more water? Maybe. She would just love a bone so much. Go get her bones. I'm gonna let her outside and maybe she'll have a drink of water. Let's check her water bowl. You guys can come with me, actually. Why don't you guys come with me? We're gonna go outside. Book club break. We're gonna check her water bowl and maybe we can grab her a bone or two. I don't know. It's like she's never satisfied with one. She does have a cheese bone in there that I dug out. Maybe she wouldn't mind her yak cheese bone. I need to see where I'm going. All right, here's your water bowl. You got water in there still. This is your kind of party. Be real. We're being as real as we can, sir. We're being as real as we can. I'm just kidding. I know what you meant. I know you're trolling. I know you're trolling. Does Clover have food? She already ate her food. Can't leave food out overnight because the raccoons will get it. We're camping. We're camping. If you guys are new here. If you're new here, we are camping at a campground. I've got some bones though. She's had extra food today. She had lots of food. She doesn't need any more food. But we got bones. So she's like, just because you're not midnight snacking doesn't mean I don't want midnight snacks. Okay, you go on. She's all excited for her midnight snacks. And grab her water bowl too. Okay, lots of water. She's so excited. She says, give me that. Oh, Beth, Miss Sweet Potatoes. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Thank you, Beth. The cannolis. No, we're not doing midnight snacking. No midnight snacking except for Clover. Clover can midnight snack. Clover gets to midnight snack. I should have known that this would happen. She was sleeping so hard today. She was sleeping so hard today. Ah, I swiped out. She was sleeping so hard today because of the, if you're gonna be up, then I get to have the light up because of the kayaking and all the walks and stuff. All right, so these are her jerkies. Okay, I thought she'd go over to her dog bed. Go under your dog bed, Clover. It's more comfortable, I would think. Oh, did you eat that weird? Oh, no, you're okay. There you go. There she goes. That's better, Clover. Clover's happy now. You gotta have a happy dog. If you're gonna read a book out loud on the internet, you gotta have your dog feeling pretty good. You know? She says, thank you for the bone. You made it. Oh, yes. If there's a troll in here and I don't see them or block them, you guys can block them and they will be hidden from the chat. You won't see them anymore. Anchovy pizza? Sure. Why not? I've never had it before. Clover's going to eat that all in one. Well, maybe. She says thank you. You want one more? This is 2-ingredient jerky. It's chicken and glycerin, I think. Yeah, it's nice that you cannot see them nonsense if you block, yeah. Oh, I forgot to grab the cheese bone. I thought I would grab a cheese bone for her. She's just staring at the bag for more. Oh, Rita with the $10 super chat. Let's go. Thank you, Rita. Thank you for the $10. Dang, that's very kind of you, Rita. Thank you so much. All right, we're gonna get back to it. Clover's happy now. I'm gonna hide these from sight. I'm gonna put the blanket over them so she just kind of, I'm gonna put her light out so she's just on her side of the tent. It's dark. She says thank you for the jerky. Oh, thanks, Rita. Let's go. I like that already got 11 likes too. Thank you guys for liking the super chats when people send them, and everything's being so supportive. You know, this is a very supportive area, right? It's kind of nice. Yeah, I like this space. All right. Okay, so we're gonna get back to it. Let's see. Okay, Tamlin lounged in his usual chair. We're on page 214, by the way. Tamlin lounged in his usual chair, but straightened as I lingered in the doorway. What's wrong? There are a lot of fairies around. When did they arrive? I almost yelped when I looked out my bedroom window and spotted all the fairies in the garden. Most of them, with all of the insect masks, pruned the hedges and tended the flowers. Those fairies have been the strangest of them all, with their buzzing wings sprouting from their backs, and of course, then there was the green and brown skin and their unnaturally long limbs. Tamlin bit his lip, as if to keep from smiling. They've been here all along, he said. But I didn't hear anything, I asked. Of course you didn't, Lucian drawled and twirled with one of his daggers between his hands. We made sure you didn't see or hear anyone but those who were necessary. I adjusted the lapels of my tunic. So when I ran after the puka that night, you had an audience, Lucian finished. I thought I'd been so stealth. Meanwhile, I'd been tiptoeing past fairies who had probably laughed their heads off at the blind human following an illusion. Fighting against my rising mortification, I turned to Tamlin. His lips twitched and he clamped them tightly together. The amusement danced in his eyes as he nodded. It was a valiant effort, he laughed. But I could see the naga and the puka and the cereal and the fairy whose wings were ripped off, I said, wincing inwardly. Why didn't the glamour apply to those? His eyes darkened. They're not members of my court, Tamlin said, so my glamour didn't keep a hold on them. The puka belongs to the wind and weather and everything that changes, and the naga belonged to something else. I see, I lied, not quite seeing it. Lucian chuckled, sensing it, and I glared at him. You've been noticeably absent again. He used his dagger to clean his nails. I've been busy, and so have you, I take it. What's that supposed to mean? I demanded. If I offer you the moon on a string, would you give me a kiss too? See, I knew that there was like a love triangle going on. He's a little jealous. Don't be an ass, Tamlin said to him with a soft hand, but Lucian continued laughing and was still laughing when he left the room. Along with Tamlin, I shifted on my feet. So if I were to encounter the Ator again, I said, mostly to avoid the heavy silence, would I actually see it? Yes, and it wouldn't be pleasant, he said. You said it didn't see me that time, and it certainly doesn't seem like a member of your court. Why? Because I threw a glamour over you when we entered the garden, he said. The adder couldn't see, hear, or smell you. His gaze went to the window beyond me, and he ran a hand through his hair. I've done all I can to keep you invisible to creatures like the adder and worse. The blight is acting up again. Most of these creatures are being freed from their tethers. My stomach churned. If you spot one, Tamlin continued, even if it looks harmless but makes you feel uncomfortable, pretend you don't. Don't talk to it. If it hurts you, the results would be unpleasant for it or me. Remember what happened with the naga. We're on page 216. This was for my own safety, not just his amusement. He didn't want me hurt. He didn't want me to punish. He didn't want to punish them for hurting me. Even if the Naga hadn't been part of his court, had it hurt him to kill them? Realizing he waited for my answer, I nodded. The blight is growing again, I asked. Yes, so far only in other territories. You're safe here, he said. It's not my safety I'm worried about. Tamlin's eyes softened, but his lips became a thin line as he said, it'll be fine. Is it possible that the surge will be temporary? Tamlin didn't reply, which was answer enough. If the blight was becoming active again, I didn't bother to offer my aid. I already knew he wouldn't allow me to help with whatever this conflict was. Thanks for all the hearts in the chat, you guys. But I thought of that painting I had given him and what he said about it and wished he would have let me in anyway. The next morning, I found a head in the garden. What a bizarre thing to happen. The next morning, I found a head in the garden. You can't make that up. You're new to the book club. Ah, you found me. We're on page 216, so we're quite far into the book. We're on chapter 24. The next morning, I found a head in the garden, a bleeding male high fae head, spiked atop a fountain statue of a great heron flapping its wings. Welcome to the book club. The stone was soaked in enough blood to suggest that the head had been fresh when someone had impaled it on the heron's upraised bill. I had been hauling my paints and easels out to the garden to paint one of the beds of irises when I stumbled across it. My tins and brushes had clattered to the gravel. I didn't know where I went as I stared at the still screaming head, the brown eyes bulging, the teeth broken and bloody, no mask, so he wasn't part of the spring court. Anything else about him I couldn't figure out. His blood was so bright on the gray stone, his mouth open so vulgar. I stepped back and slammed into something warm and hard. I whirled, hands rising out of instinct, but it was Tamlin's voice I heard. It's me, and I stopped cold. Lucian stood beside him, pale and grim. Not Autumn Court, Lucian said. I don't recognize him at all. Tamlin's hands clamped on my shoulders as I turned back towards the head. Neither do I, he said. A soft, vicious growl laced his words, but no claws prickled my skin as he kept gripping me. His hands tightened, though, while Lucian stepped into the small pool in which the statue stood, striding through the red water until he peered up at the anguished face. They branded him behind the ear with a sigil, Lucian said, swearing. A mountain with 3 stars. Night Court, Tamlin said, too quietly. The Night Court, the northernmost bit of Prythian, if I recalled. A land of darkness and starlight. Why would they do this, I asked. Tamlin let go, coming to stand at my side as Lucian climbed the statue to remove the head. I looked toward the blossoming crabapple tree instead. The Night Court does what it wants, Tamlin said. They live by their own codes, their own corrupt morals. They're all sadistic killers, Lucian said. I dared to glance at him, and he now perched on the heron's stone wing. I looked away again. They delight in torture of every kind and would find this sort of stunt to be amusing. Amusing but not a message, I asked, scanning the garden. Oh, it's a message, Lucian said, and I cringed at the thick, wet sounds of flesh and bone on stone as he yanked the head off. I skinned enough animals, but this, Tamlin, he put his hand on my shoulder, to get in and out of our defenses, to possibly commit to the crime nearby, with the blood this fresh. A splash of as Lucian landed in the water again. It's exactly what the High Lord of the Night Court would find amusing. Bastard. I gauged the distance between the pool and the house. 60, maybe 70 feet. That's how close they had come to us. Tamlin brushed a thumb against my shoulder. You're safe here. This was their idea of a prank. We're on page 218. This is not vampires. This is fairies. So this is fairies. This is A Court of Thorns and Roses. Page 218. This is our 12th live stream of this book. So usually I do about 2 chapters. And I try to do it most nights whenever I can. This isn't connected to the blight, I asked. Only and they know the blight is again awakening and want us to know they're circling the spring court like vultures. Should our wards fall further, I must have looked as sick as I felt because Tamlin asked. I won't let that happen. I didn't have the heart to say that their masks made it fairly clear that nothing could be done against the blight. Lucian splashed out of the fountain, but I couldn't look at him, not with the head he bore, the blood surely on his hands and clothes. They'll get what's coming to them soon enough. Hopefully the blight will wreck them too. Tamlin growled at Lucian to take care of the head, and the gravel crunched as Lucian departed. I crouched to pick my paints and brushes up, my hands shaking as I fumbled for a large brush. Tamlin knelt next to me, but his hands closed around mine, squeezing. "You're still safe," he said. The Searle's command echoed through my mind. "Stay with the High Lord, human. You will be safe." I nodded. "It's court posturing," he said. "The night court is deadly, but this was only their lord's idea of a joke. Attacking anyone here, attacking you, would cause more trouble than it's worth. If the blight truly does harm these lands, then the night court enters our borders, then we'll be ready." My knees shook as I rose. Fairy politics, fairy courts, their ideas of jokes must have been even more horrible when we were enslaved to you all. They must have tortured us whenever they liked. They must have done such unspeakable, awful things to humans as their pets. A shadow flickered in his eyes. Some days I'm very glad I was still a child when my father sent his slaves south of the wall. What I witnessed was bad enough. I didn't want to imagine. Even now, I still hadn't looked to see if any hints of those long ago humans had been left behind. I did not think 5 centuries would be enough to cleanse the stain of the horrors that my people had endured. I should have let it go, should have, but I couldn't. "Do you remember if they were happy to leave?" I asked. Tamlin shrugged. "Yes, but they do not know freedom or seasons as you do. They do not know what to do in the mortal world, but yes, a lot of them were happy to leave." Each word was more ground out than the next. I was happy to see them go, even if my father wasn't. Despite the stillness with which he stood, his claws poked out from above his knuckles. No wonder he'd been so awkward with me. He had no idea what to do with me when I first arrived, but I quietly said, "You're not your father or your brothers." And he glanced away, and I added, you never made me feel like a prisoner, never made me feel a little more than chattel." The shadows that flickered in his eyes nodded his thanks and told me there was more to say. Still more that he had yet to do to help his family, to tell me about his family, his life before they killed, and this title had been thrust upon him. I wouldn't ask, not with the blight pressing down on him, not until he was ready. He'd given me space and respect, and I couldn't offer him less. Still, I couldn't bring myself to paint today. Yeah, if you have any trolls or anything in here, just block them. The nice thing is that you can't see them. Because I'm reading, so I'm not looking at the chat as hard, so just block them, and then I'll get them eventually. If they spam enough, I'll get them, and I'll block them. But yeah, you can always report them too. If it's mean, you can report, you can report them for different reasons. A lot of times they're just spammers. What's Clover doing? Oh, Robert with the $5 super chat. You're just listening. Yeah. Let's go. Thank you for the super chat. What do you want, Clover? Do you need to go outside? Clover's having trouble settling tonight because of all of the adventures that she's had and all of the sleep that she got today. I don't think she wants bones. I think she wants to go outside. Do you need to go outside, Clover, or do you want bones? She wants bones. She wants a million. She wants a million of these. She just wants all of them. Welcome. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, you guys. I think she wants to go outside. You want to go outside? I don't know what you want. I don't know where her leash went. Right here. I'm just gonna put her leash on her so she can go outside if she wants to. There you go. You go outside. You go on. Water. She wanted her water. We're camping right now. We're down in Florida. We're camping by the water. Hi guys. I got my tent set up and we just did a campfire, and now we're making sure my dog is comfortable as we continue reading. I'm glad you guys are all here. We got 82 people in here. Let's go. Thanks, you guys. 82 people and 76 likes. Thanks. That's a pretty good record. That's a pretty good record. We're on chapter 25, page 220. I'm going to let her keep finishing her water first. We're in no rush. Clover always comes first. Sometimes, like, I'll spend extra time making sure she's all settled, and then we'll start the live stream, and then she'll start being like, where's my bones? Where's my water? Like, she'll just start complaining about stuff, and I'm like, what are you doing? You just chugged water. And then you know what's going to happen. She's going to have to go to the bathroom. Is that good, Clover? Oh. Clover says she's all happy now. Okay. I'm going to take this off of you then if you don't need it. Because I think it would be more comfortable not to have it on. All right, so Clover's all settled. She's laying down next to me. She's feeling pretty good. We're on chapter 25, page 220. Tamlin was called away to one of the borders hours after I found the head. Where and why, he wouldn't tell me, but I sensed enough from what he didn't say. The blight was indeed crawling from other courts directly towards ours. Aw, I love you guys. He stayed the night, the first he'd ever spent away, but sent Lucian to inform me that he was alive. Lucian had emphasized that this last word enough. Lucian emphasized the last word enough that I slept terribly. Even as a small part of me marveled that Tamlin had bothered to let me know about his well-being. I knew I was headed down a path that would likely end in my mortal heart being left in pieces. And yet I couldn't stop myself. I hadn't been able to since the day with the Naga. But seeing that head, the games these courts played with people's lives as tokens on a board, it was an effort to keep food down whenever I thought about it. Yet despite the creeping malice, I awoke the next day to the sound of merry fiddling, and when I looked out the window, I found the garden bedeckled in ribbons and streamers. On the distant hills, I spied the makings of fires and maypoles being raised. When I asked Alice whose people, I learned they were called the Urisk. Urisk or Urisk? I'm going to call them the Urisk. She said simply, summer solstice, the main celebration used to be at the high summer court, but things are different, and so now we have one here too. You're going. Summer, in the weeks that I'd been painting and dining with Tamlin and wandering the court lands, summer had come. Did my family still truly believe that I was visiting some long-lost aunt? What were they doing with themselves? If it was the solstice, then there would be a small gathering in the village center. Nothing religious, of course, though the children of the blessed might wander in to try to convert the young people. Some just shared food, donated ale from the solitary tavern, and maybe some line dances. The only thing to celebrate was a day's break from the long summer days of planting and tilling. From the decorations around the estate, I could tell that this would be something far grander, far more spirited. Tamlin raised, thanks you guys, thanks for all the likes you guys. Tamlin remained gone for most of the day. Worry gnawed at me even as I painted a quick, loose rendering of the streamers and ribbons in the garden. Perhaps it was pretty and selfish, given the returning blight, but perhaps it was petty and selfish, given the blight, but I also quietly hoped that the solstice didn't require the same rites as Fire Night. I didn't let myself think too much about what I would do if Tamlin had a flock of beautiful fairies lined up for him. It wasn't until late afternoon that I heard Tamlin's deep voice and Lucian's braying laugh echo through the halls all the night, all the way to my painting room. Relief sent my chest caving in, but as I rushed to find them, Alice yanked me upstairs. She stripped off my paint-splattered clothes and insisted I changed into a flowing cornflower blue gown. She left my hair unbound, but wove a garland of pink, white, and blue flowers around the crown of my head. I might have felt childish with it on, but in the months that I'd been there, my sharp bones and skeleton form had filled out a woman's body. Such a silly thing to say. I now have a woman's body. The way some of the books are written, I have trouble reading the way some authors write. I have trouble reading, you know. Ew, right? Yeah. I don't want to think that she's 19. I like to think that she's 32. She's lived a life. But then I'm reminded in moments like this that she's supposed to be 19. Like, why can't they write about an older character, please? I now have a woman's body. I'm ready. I ran my hands over the sweeping soft curves of my waist and hips. I had never thought I would feel anything but muscle and bone. Cauldron boil me, Lucian whistled as I came downstairs. Can you guys whistle? She looks positively fey. I was too busy looking Tamlin over, scanning for any injury, any sign of blood or marks that the blight might have left, to thank Lucian for the compliment. But Tamlin was clean, almost glowing, completely unarmed and smiling at me. Whatever he'd gone to deal with had left him unscathed. You look lovely, Tamlin said, and something in his soft tone made me want to purr. She's used this author has used the word purr a few too many times for me, I have to say. Like, I purred. Good morning. Something in his tone made me want to purr. I squared my shoulders, disciplined to let him now see how much his words, or to let him declined. Sorry. I squared my shoulders, disinclined to let him see how much his words or voice or sheer well-being had impacted me. You do such a good job. Aw, thanks, Fanny. It's a little gross, right? I'm at work and keep getting upset that I'm sore and it makes me mess up. Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Yeah. I hope you get through the night okay. Not yet. I'm surprised I'm even allowed to participate tonight, I said. Unfortunately for you and your neck, Lucian countered, tonight's just a party. Do you lie awake at night to come up with all of your witty replies? Lucian winked at me and Tamlin laughed and offered me his arm. He's right, Tamlin said. I was aware of every inch where we touched and of the hard muscles beneath his green tunic. He led me into the garden and Lucian followed. Solstice celebrates when the sun outshines the night. As the longest day of the year, it's a time when everyone can take down their hair and simply enjoy being a fairy. Not high fae or fairy, just us, nothing else. So there's singing and dancing and excessive drinking, Lucian chimed in, falling in step beside me, and dallying, he added, with a wicked grin. Indeed, each brush of Tamlin's body against mine made it harder to avoid the urge to lean into him directly, to smell him and touch him and taste him. Whether he noticed the heat singeing on my neck and face or heard my uneven heartbeat, he revealed nothing, holding my arm tighter as we walked out of the garden and into the fields beyond. I struggle with this kind of stuff because it kind of seems like a little bit of like ignoring the muscles and things like that. It just seems kind of like something maybe you would feel like you're supposed to write about instead of something you would actually write about, you know? Like muscles are never something I've been attracted to, I suppose. Your energy is delightful. So I've never like ignored somebody's muscles. But I suppose I ruin it when I get that way because some of you guys love it, right? You guys eat it up. The sun was beginning its final descent when we reached the plateau on which the festivities were to be held. I tried not to gawk at the fairies gathered, even as I was in turn gawked at by them. We're on page 223. I'd never seen so many in one place before, without the glamour hiding them from me. Now the eyes were open to the sight, and the exquisite dresses and forms that were shaped and colored and built so strangely and differently were a marvel to behold. Yet what little novelty my own presence by the High Lord's side offered soon wore off, helped by a low warning growl from Tamlin that sent the others scattering to mind their own business. Table after table of food had been lined up along the far edge of the plateau, and I lost Tamlin while I waited in line to fill a plate, leaving me to try my best not to look like I was some human playing off of his. Music started started near the giant smoking bonfire, fiddles and drums and merry instruments that had me tapping my feet in the grass, light and joyous and open, the mirthful sister to the bloodthirsty fire night. Lucian, of course, excelled at disappearing when I needed him, and so I ate my fill of strawberry shortcake, apple tart, and blueberry pie. No different from summer treats in the mortal realm, alone beneath a sycamore covered with silken lanterns and sparkling ribbons. Should you go blonde? Go blonde and then dye your hair a fun color. So bleach it and then dye it red. Like, not red, I mean red. Dye it as red as this, and that would be fun. That would be more fun than just blonde. Table after table of food. Oh wait, whoops. I didn't mind the solitude, not when I was busy contemplating the way the lanterns and ribbons shone, the shadows they cast. Perhaps it would be my next painting, or maybe I would paint the fairies beginning to dance. Such angels and colors to such angles and colors to them. I wondered if any of them had been the subjects of the painters whose works were displayed in the gallery. I moved only to get myself something to drink. The plateau had become more crowded as the sun sank towards the horizon. Across the hills, other bonfires and parties began, their music filtering through the occasional pause in ours. I was pouring myself a goblet of golden sparkling wine when Lucian finally appeared behind me, peering over my shoulder. I wouldn't drink that if I were you. Oh, I said, frowning at the fizzing liquid. Fairy wine at the solstice, Lucian hinted. Oh, I said, taking a sniff. I didn't reek of alcohol. In fact, it didn't reek of alcohol. In fact, it smelled like summer spent lying in the grass and bathing in cool pools. I'd never smelled anything so fantastic. I'm serious, Lucian said, as I lifted the glass to my lips, my brows raised. Remember the last time you ignored my warning? He poked me in the neck, and I batted his hand away. I also remember you telling me about how witch berries were harmless, and the next thing I knew, I was half delirious and falling all over myself. I recalled the afternoon from a few weeks ago. I'd had hallucinations for hours afterward, and Lucian had laughed himself sick, enough so that Tamlin had chucked him into the reflection pool. I shook away the thought. Today, just for today, I would indeed let my hair down. Today, let caution be damned. I wanted to forget the blight hovering over the edges of the court, threatening my High Lord and his lands. My High Lord? I think this is the first time that she said threatening my High Lord. So she's now referring to Tamlin as her High Lord. Where was Tamlin anyway? If there had been some threat, surely Lucian would have known. Surely they would have called off the celebration. Well, I mean it this time, Lucian said, and I shifted my goblet out of his reach. Tamlin would gut me if he caught you drinking that. Always looking after your best interests, I said, and pointedly chugged the contents of the glass. She chugged it. Oh my goodness. It was like a million fireworks exploding inside of me, filling my veins with starlight. I laughed out loud, and Lucian groaned. Human fool, he hissed. But his glamour had been ripped away. His auburn hair burned like hot metal. His russet eyes smoldered like a bottomless forge. That was what I would capture next. I'm going to paint you, I told him, and I giggled. I actually giggled as the words popped out. Cauldron, boil, and fry me, he muttered, and I laughed again. Before he could stop me, I downed another glass of the fairy wine. It was the most glorious thing I'd ever tasted. It liberated me from the bonds I'd never knew existed. The music became a siren song. The melody was my lodestone, and I was powerless against its lure. With each step, I savored the dampness of the grass beneath my feet. I didn't remember when I'd lost my shoes. The sky was an eddy of molten amethyst, sapphire, and ruby, all bleeding into a final pool of onyx. Onyx. I wanted to swim, wanted to bathe in it, its colors, and feel the stars twinkling between my fingers. I stumbled, blinking, and found myself standing at the edge of the ring of dancing. A cluster of musicians played their fairy instruments and swayed on my feet as I watched the fairies dancing, circling the bonfire. Not formal dancing. It was like they were as loose as I was, free, and I loved it for them. Damn it, Feyre, Lucian said, gripping my elbow. Do you want me to try to keep you from impaling? I don't know if I can read those words. What? I said, turning to him. The whole world spun with me, delightful and entrancing. Idiot, he said when he looked at my face. Drunken idiot. She's gonna get in trouble. The tempo increased. I wanted to be in the music. I wanted to ride its speed and weave between its notes. I could feel the music around me like a living, breathing thing of wonder and joy and beauty. You found me? Oh, I'm glad you're here. Yeah, we're on page 225. Feyre, stop, Lucian said, and grabbed me again. I'd been dancing away. My body was still swaying towards the pull of the sound. You stop. You stop being so serious, I said, and I shook him off. I wanted to hear the music, wanted to hear it hot off the instruments, and Lucian swore as I burst into movement. I skipped between the dancers, twirling my skirts. The seated, masked musicians didn't look up as I leaped before them, dancing in place. No chains, no boundaries, just me and the music, dancing and dancing. I wasn't fairy, but I was part of this earth, and the earth was part of me, and I would be content to dance upon it for the rest of my life. Once the musicians looked up from the fiddling, and I hated it. I halted, sweat gleaming on the strong column of his neck as he rested his chin upon the dark wood of the fiddle. He rolled up the sleeves of his shirt, revealing the cords of muscle along his forearms. He had once mentioned that he would have liked to be a traveling minstrel, if not a warrior or high lord, and now I heard him play. I knew he could have made a fortune from it. I'm sorry, Tam, Lucian panted, appearing from nowhere. I left her alone for a little while at one of the food tables, and when I caught up with her, she was drinking the wine. Tamlin didn't pause in his playing, his golden hair damp with sweat. He looked marvelous handsome, even though I couldn't see most of his face. He gave me a feral smile as I began to dance in place before him. I'll look after her, Tamlin murmured above the music, and I glowed. My dancing became faster. Go enjoy yourself, and Lucian fled. I shouted over the music, I don't need a keeper. I wanted to spin and spin and spin. No, you don't, Tamlin said, never once stumbling over his playing. How his bow did dance upon the strings, his fingers sturdy and strong. No sign of those claws that I had come to stop fearing. Dance, Feyre, he whispered, and so I did. I was loosened, a top whirling around, and I didn't know who I danced with or what they looked like. I only had become the music and the fire and the night, and there was nothing that could slow me down. Through it all, Tamlin and his musicians played such joyous music that I didn't think the world could contain it at all. I sashayed over to him, the fairy lord, my protector and warrior, my friend, and danced before him. He grinned at me, and I didn't break my dancing as he rose from his seat and knelt before me in the grass, offering up a solo on his fiddle to me. Music just for me, a gift, he played on, his fingers fast and hard upon the strings of the fiddle, my body slithering like a snake. I tipped my head back to the heavens and let Tamlin's music fill all of me. Been there, done that, says Fanny. You guys hear Clover snoring in the background? She stopped because she heard my name. Or she heard her name. We're on page 227. There was a pressure, at my waist, and I was swept away in someone's arms as they whisked me back into the ring of dancing. I laughed so hard that I thought I'd combust, and when I opened my eyes, I found Tamlin there spinning me round and round. Everything became a blur of color and sound, and he was the only object in it, tethering me to sanity, to my body which glowed and burned in every place that he touched. I was filled with sunshine. It was like I'd never experienced summer before, like I'd never known who was waiting to emerge from the forest of ice and snow. I didn't want it to end. I never wanted to leave this hilltop. The music came to a close and I gasped for breath. I glanced at the moon. It was near setting. Sweat slid down every part of my body. Tamlin, panting, took my hand. Time goes faster when you're drunk on fairy wine, he said. I'm not drunk, I said, snorting. He only chuckled and led me from the dancing. I dug my heels into the ground as we neared the edge of the firelight. They're starting again, I said, pointing to the dancers gathering before the refreshed musicians. He leaned close, his breath caressing the shell of my ear as he whispered, I want to show you something. I stopped objecting. He led me off the hill, navigating his way by the moonlight. Whatever path he chose, he did so out of consideration for my bare feet, for only soft grass cushioned my steps. Soon, even the music faded away, replaced by a sighing of trees and night breeze. Here, Tamlin said, pausing at the edge of the vast meadow. His hand lingered on my shoulder as we looked out. The high grasses moved like water as the last of the moonlight danced upon them. What is it? I breathed, but he put a finger to his lips and beckoned me to look. Clover is snoring. Holy moly. You play in a band? Typical. Yeah, typical. Page 228. For a few minutes there was nothing, and then from the opposite side of the meadow, dozens of shimmering shapes floated out across the grass, more than mirages of moonlight. That was when the singing began. It was a collective voice, but it existed both male and female, two sides of the same coin, singing to each other in a call and response. I raised a hand to my throat as their music rose and they danced. Ghostly and ethereal, they waltzed across the field, no more than slender slants of moonlight. What are they? Will-o-wisps. Spirits of air and light, he said softly. Come to celebrate the solstice. They're beautiful, I said. His lips grazed my neck as he murmured against my skin. Dance with me, Feyre, dance. Really? I asked. I turned and found my face mere inches from his. He cracked a lazy smile. Really? As though I were nothing but air myself, he pulled me into a sweeping dance. I barely remembered any of the steps I'd learned in childhood, but he compensated for that with his feral grace, never faltering, always sensing any stumble before I made it as we danced across the spirit-riddled field. I was unburdened as a piece of... Can't make this up. This is literally how it's wrote. I was as unburdened as a piece of dandelion fluff. Sorry. And he was the wind that stirred me about the world. He smiled at me, and I found myself smiling back. Okay, maybe she is 19. I didn't need to pretend, didn't need to be anything but what I was right then, being twirled about the meadow, the will-o-wisps dancing around us like dozens of moons. Our dancing slowed as we stood there, holding each other as we swayed to the songs of the spirits. He rested his chin upon my head and stroked my hair, his fingers grazing the bare skin of my neck. Feyre, he whispered into my head. He made my name sound beautiful. Feyre. No, I'm just kidding. Feyre. He whispered again, not a question, but simply as if he just enjoyed saying it. As quickly as they'd appeared, the spirits vanished, taking their music with them, and I blinked. The stars were fading and the sky had turned grayish purple. Tamlin's face was inches from my own. It's almost dawn. I nodded, mesmerized by the sight of him, the smell and feel of him holding me. Do you know what this reminds me of, though? Have you ever had an all-night conversation with somebody. Have you ever spent a night with a person that you were interested in or dating, and you stayed up all night talking, or whatever? Like, it kind of makes me think of that. Yeah, we're in Florida. This is our 5th night in Florida. I reached up to touch his mask. It was so cold, despite how flushed his skin was just beyond it. My hand shook and my breathing became shallow as I grazed the skin of his jaw. It was smooth and hot. He wet his lips, his breathing as uneven as my own. His fingers contracted against the plane of my lower back, and I let him tug me closer to him until our bodies were touching and the warmth of him seeped into me. I had to tilt my head back to see his face. His mouth was caught somewhere between a smile and a wince. "What?" I asked, and I put a hand on his chest, preparing to shove myself back, but his other hand slipped under my hair, resting at the base of my neck. "I'm thinking I might just kiss you," he said quietly and intently. "Then do it," I blushed. But Tamlin only gave that breathy laugh and leaned in. His lips brushed mine, testing, soft and warm. He pulled back a little. He was still staring at me, and I stared right back as he kissed me again. Harder, but nothing like the way he kissed my neck. He withdrew more fully this time and watched me. "That's it?" I demanded, and he laughed and kissed me fiercely. My hands went around his neck, pulling him closer, crushing myself against him. He let out a groan. "Come, we'll miss it if we don't go now. Better than the will-o-wisps," I asked, but he kissed my cheeks, my neck, and finally my lips. I followed him into the trees, through the ever-lightening world. His hand was solid and unmovable around mine as we passed through the low-lying mist, and he helped me up the bare hill, slick with dew. We sat atop its crest, and I hid my smile as Tamlin put an arm around my shoulders, tucking me in close. I rested my head against his chest while he toyed with the flowers in my garland. In silence, we stared over the rolling green expanse. The sky shifted into periwinkle, and the clouds filled with pink light. Then, like a shimmering disk too rich and clear to be described, the sun slipped over the horizon, lined everything with gold, and it was like seeing the world being born, and we were the sole witnesses. Tamlin's arms lightened around me, and he kissed me on top of my head. I pulled back, looking up at him. The gold in his eyes was bright with the rising sun. "What?" he asked. "My father once told me that I should let my sisters imagine a better life, a better world, and I told him there was no such thing." I ran my thumb over his mouth, marveling at this, and shook my head. I never understood because I couldn't believe that it was even possible. I swallowed and lowered my hand until now. His throat bobbed. His kiss that time was deep and thorough, unhurried and intent. I let the dawn creep inside me, let it grow with each movement of his lips and brush of his tongue against mine. Tears prickled beneath my closed eyes. It was the happiest moment of my life. Okay, we're going on to chapter 26 next time. Page 231. I'm going to end here. Thorough. He was very thorough with this one. All right, so 26 is what we're leaving off on tonight. Oh boy, it's kind of silly. Sometimes I get like a little embarrassed and I don't want to read some of it. Holy moly, it's kind of silly, huh? I wonder how old the girl is who wrote the book. You know what I mean? She looks older. I don't know. What do you think? She might be younger or older. I mean, it's pretty cool. She sold millions of copies of this book. It's really neat. It's a good chapter. Is it hot in here? Thyra. What if he talked like that? Thyra, I just need you to know, darling, you're just about as pretty as a dandelion tonight. Me and Lucian, we really enjoy you being here, honey. Oh, Tamlin, this is the happiest moment of my life. You never laugh so hard. It's fun. I actually like this book. Are you guys liking this book? I like it. Hello, can you fix my brain? Maybe. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna try to get up early. Oh, Captain Mutt, now you want to go to a music festival. That's so funny. Where's Captain Mutt with the $4.99 super chat? Let's go. You're cracking up. Anybody get that on screen recording? Yeah, it's gonna be recorded, the whole thing. Maybe it'd be funny little clip. I don't know. Nah. Oh, it's your birthday? Hey, happy birthday, Amanda. It sounds kiddish sometimes, but it's still good. Yeah, it just sounds young sometimes. Like, it kind of sounds silly. Like, it sounds like maybe an undeveloped writing a little bit. Like, I bet you her writing shifts later. Because, like, some of it just kind of seems like something you think you're supposed to write. Like, I ignored his muscles. Like, some of it, I don't know. It just seems... you shouldn't be critical, right? Because, like, gosh, like... is so talented to write a book. I could never write a book like this, you know, and it's nice. It's nice to have a book to read and to challenge myself with and try to develop my focus. But I struggle sometimes with romance books. Romance books I really kind of struggle with. I didn't realize it was a romance book when I bought it. I kind of knew there would be some, but I probably need more of like a, you know, less romance one. This book club is so fun. Happy birthday, Amanda. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, guys. Kayaking was fun. I kind of want to go kayaking again in the morning. I can rent by the hour, so I might try to rent it a little longer tomorrow so I can maybe do it as a YouTube live stream. We did it as a TikTok live stream this morning, and I only had it for 2 hours, and I took some screen recording, but I can't get the replay to download. So I think what I'm gonna do is try to film it on YouTube so that it'll just automatically upload when we're done. And then that way there's some kayaking, record of the kayaking, you know. One more chapter. It makes me feel good when you guys say that though. It makes me feel good. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. Happy birthday to you. All right, I'll see you guys in the morning. Thanks for being so cool. I'll probably be live on some combination of TikTok and YouTube. I don't know the timing yet. It's cool. Looks like you got some sun a little bit. Again, it's on this side though, right? It's on this side instead of this side. Maybe it's just how the lighting is. It's just a trick of the lighting. Canoodling is forthcoming. I think so too. I think things are about to get real. Farrah, I want you to come on over here, darling. Good night, you guys. I'll see you. He pats the hay. Oh yeah, she's already trustled with Isaac, so she's no spring chicken herself. Have a good night, you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Get some good sleep. Happy